Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Championship Leadership Podcast. Today we got Brandon T. Adams just outside of the Twin Cities in Edina, Minnesota, which is probably about an hour from where I'm at. So small world, but thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I found out that we're both in Minnesota.
Yeah. I do a lot of these podcasts, and I think this might be the first one I have done with someone else from the state. So
Nice.
yeah, we could check that box off, right?
Yeah.
Let's hop into it. The first question I like to ask is the name of the podcast is Championship Leadership. What comes to mind for you? What does championship leadership mean to you when you hear that?
Yeah, I think a championship leadership, I think it's being the best you. I'm very competitive. I played football. I played rugby. As a speaker, as a producer and coach, I just want to be the best I can be. And I think everybody should do that. I think everybody should have that mindset, because honestly, if you're not trying to be the best, you're living a mediocre average life, which I think it's letting yourself down personally. I think it's just being the best you can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And what, if you could tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself and maybe kind of the path that's gotten you to what you are doing today, so that we can get to know you a little bit better.
So go back memory lane. I grew up in a small town in Iowa. I grew up in a town of 700 people. Town is Garnerville, Iowa. And I actually grew up in a business. My dad sold packaged ice for a living. So you probably won't meet another TV producer that also sold ice in his life.
Right.
So I sold packaged ice for a living with my father. I got to see what it was like to sell ice and learn from working with customers and the ups and downs of business. Where my life changed is I went to college, and it changed in a couple ways. For one, I got a 1.68 GPA. I was doing a lot of drugs and alcohol, and I literally had no idea what I wanted with my life, which college kids tend to do that. And where I really kind of figured out what life was about was when I read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I know there's a lot of people like, oh, he read Think and Grow Rich, so he's like the next coach. He's a spiritual person, or he understands business. I didn't read it. I lived it, and I studied it, and I've even produced a movie on it. And so Think and Grow Rich for me made me realize that anything's possible if you put your mind to it, if you surround yourself around the right people. But also the champion mindset is you don't quit until you get what you want. No matter, you have to make sacrifices. You have to put in the work. And so after I read that book, I realized anything was possible. And where I kind of got my first experience and became an expert in something was in 2014 actually, I started building my brand as a crowdfunding expert. So I was helping people raise money and raising money for inventions, for ideas, for books. And so I was doing crowdfunding. There's Kickstarter, Indiegogo. And so where I kind of got my break, where I got my name made for myself, was the podcaster John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneurs on Fire. He had come on my podcast show. And at the end of every show, I say, hey, how can I help you? How can I support you? I'm a crowdfunding expert. Well, I didn't know he was about to he wanted to do a campaign for his book called The Freedom Journal. That podcast show led to me working with him. 5 months later, we launched the Freedom Journal. It became the 5th largest crowdfunding campaign in history. We did $453,000 in 33 days, ended up building 3 schools for Pencils of Promise. And so that kind of started my career in the crowdfunding space. And then I started working with other influential people. So I worked with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank, X Prize. We crowdfunded the movie Think and Grow Rich: A Legacy based on the book Think and Grow Rich. And so I became known as the guy to help people raise money. And then where I transitioned into more of what I do today is one of the key components of raising money that I found out was, for one, storytelling, but 2, it was through video. So we had to create a video to portray our product, portray our message, portray what we were doing. And I became obsessed with doing video. I liked to be in front of the camera. I liked how it could draw emotion for people, to get them to pull money out of their pocket and give it to you. And so I really just went all in on that aspect. In 2016, I created a show with a guy named Greg Roulette called Ambitious Adventures. It was a hard run, and we put a lot of time and effort. We ended up getting the show on the Entrepreneur Network, and then eventually Facebook Watch when it first came out, and then on Amazon. And then I went and did a couple other shows, and so I became a TV producer. And then in 2018, my wife and I, before moving to Minneapolis, we traveled the country and filmed a TV series called Success in Your City. where we traveled the country to figure out what success even meant. And along the way, we interviewed celebrities, athletes, average people that were homeless, Uber drivers, you name it, we interviewed them.
Mm-hmm.
And we created a series around this, which ultimately one of the episodes won multiple Emmy Awards. And so that's how I got to where I am today. So now I do speaking. Well, not really so much right now.
Yeah, right.
I do Zoom speaking,
Yeah.
and I produce video content, and I help people produce content to build their brand online.
It's an incredible story. And yeah, so if you're listening, depending on when this is, we're going through the pandemic right now, right? So not a lot of live event speaking going on, but plenty of virtual. But so that's an incredible story. I had John Lee Dumas on the show a while back as well. And that's, by
Good
simply
guy. I like John.
yeah, great guy. Simply by asking that question and looking to see if you could help somebody else out, what kind of a snowball effect that created for you inside of your life.
Oh man, I mean, if John Lee Dumas alone, my strategy for getting my name for myself was targeting an influential person and working with them. So in this case, was targeting a top podcaster who ended up working with me. And then from that, I mean, I've been on his show 4 times. If you want to look at a financial standpoint, one time I was on the show, I got $50,000 in revenue from one episode I went on.
Wow.
And it led for me getting the name for myself. Other people worked with me, and it started my career. It literally did. I talk about it a lot, but it was a starting point for my career because I proved my worthiness and my abilities to an influential person, and that testimonial, credibility, and his sphere of influence literally allowed me to work with a lot of other people. I'm forever grateful for it. But I think anybody, if you want to become known as the best in your space, work with the top 1%, show one very influential person what you're made of, and they will help you get other people to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. What, where does this drive come from for you? I know you give a lot of credit to Think and Grow Rich, the book, of course, but also kind of feel like this has been a part of you for a long time. Is there some people that kind of modeled this way of living and being for you, or is this something that you just inherently always kind of had inside of you? Or where does that come from?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple. I believe I was born with it, with some drive, but one of the things I look back, I've been in a lot of deep, you call coaching programs or deep work on myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I once did a training called MITT, which is a transformational training that changed my life. And I found out that a lot of my wanting to achieve came back to my childhood. When I was a kid, I was born with a speech impediment. So I had a lisp. And some people would guess that today because I'm speaking and doing podcasts and all this stuff. But I had a speech impediment. And so I got bullied and I wasn't like everybody else. For me, I hated that. And I always wanted to prove to everybody I was worthy. So eventually I overcame my speech impediment. But it looked into other areas of my life. I built this habit of always achieve a trophy, win something, prove that I am worthy, prove that I am the person that I can be. And so that's kind of what motivated me in good areas and bad. And luckily 3 years ago, I kind of saw that's what was driving me, and I made some tweaks in my habits. But that was one thing. And then 2, I guess, knowing that I don't want to wake up one day and be that guy that says, shit, I wish I would have did that. Or what if? I don't want to be the what if. I want to really live life to the fullest. And when my day comes to an end and God, I see him, I want to say that I did everything that I could. And I think we all should kind of look at life that way, because a lot of people, they say when people on their deathbed, a lot of things they do is they'll say how they lived life on other people's terms and they didn't do everything they wanted to because they wanted to really make other people happy. For me, I want to make myself happy. And I want to enjoy life in the process.
Yeah. What are some of if you could tell us a little bit more about the project where you went across the country with your wife and interviewed all these success stories, like where did that come from? And also maybe what are some of the greatest lessons that you learned through that experience?
It's hard to travel the country and film a TV show.
I believe that. Yeah.
I was sitting on a beach in Puerto Rico with my wife today. And it was almost exactly 3 years ago. It'll be June 9th. Will be 3 years ago that we're sitting in Puerto Rico. And I had made money in business and I had achieved like success in different ways. And I just got through this training I went through. I realized I wanted more out of life. I wanted to like do something crazy. And I really loved video content. And I just got done doing a TV show, and we decided we weren't going to do another season of the show. And so on that beach, having a margarita, my wife and I talked about this idea of traveling the country and going and living, at that time, 12 cities in 12 months.
Okay.
And filming a TV series on it. And most people, when they're drinking and have ideas, like that's all ever it is, right? Like,
yeah.
you have an idea that it doesn't go anywhere. Well, after we got back from Puerto Rico, and at the time we were living in Florida, we decided, okay, let's do this. So we gathered a team, we put a plan together, and December 27th of that year, we left our home in Iowa at the time, and we started our road trip around the country. And so our first stop was Scottsdale, Arizona. We went there. We featured Shea Hillenbrand. He had played for the Red Sox. He played for he played Dodgers. He was a two-time All-Star. We featured his story, and then we went to Texas. And then after Texas, we realized 12 cities is a lot.
Yeah.
And then we cut it back. We ended up going to 5 cities that we featured. And so along that way, in that process, we learned a lot. I mean, we lived in those cities in 2018, but also during this time, we sold our house. We sold 99% of our things. These are things we did after 2 cities in. We're like, man, we don't need these things anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Sold our house, sold 99% of our things. And I sold a couple businesses. And we also got married in the same year. So we did all these crazy things in a year.
Yeah.
And I learned for success, it's what you make it. You know, society is going to tell you like success is a material things. It's having maybe the large following. It's having a lot of money, which money is powerful. But really success is what you make it, and really figuring out what success even means to you, which that in itself that's the obstacle. Figuring, okay, what do I want? What do I value? Because you don't always know that. We're in this journey in life. And so for me, I realized success for me is doing what I love, which is communicating, speaking, going on shows, podcasting, and specifically creating video content in a way that inspires, motivates, and educates others, and just be the best at it and enjoying life along the way. So that's my version of success. And I guess I always encourage people to figure out what success means to them. If you want to be a great coach, become the best coach. You want to be a great athlete? Become the best athlete. Become the best at what you want to do. You want to be a great mom? Hey, become the best damn mom you can be.
Yeah.
Figure out what you want to do and be the best at it. That is success to you. Don't live life on other people's terms. And so I guess long story short, that's what I learned in the journey. And it was fun. Something I'll never forget, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a good friend, he Nate Bagley, but he went around the country and he kind of did something similar, but he interviewed, like, he's a big into relationships and marriage. And so he went around and found like people that had amazing relationships and marriages, and what made them tick and what was the reasons that they were so good. So anyway, that made me think of that.
That's cool.
What brought you into the real estate world with helping real estate agents to, brand through video?
Yeah. So funny thing, a lot of people don't know, I actually sold real estate in 2012.
Okay.
I sold for 3 years. The reason I got my license and sold real estate because some guy told me I couldn't pass my exam the first time, and he pissed me off. So I went and passed the exam, and he became my broker.
Yeah.
And so I sold real estate for a while on the side. I was that guy that did on the side. And I left real estate because I had no intention. I wanted to do what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And so I've coached and worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs, but what I noticed is I started working with a lot of real estate agents,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed working with agents, specifically agents at Keller Williams. And so what I did is I started focusing on that niche. I saw the feedback from the market, and I saw, hey, I like working with real estate agents, and they like working with me. It works out well.
Yeah.
So I started really catering to that audience. And before COVID hit, I was actually in the process of getting my license again just to go in referral.
Okay.
I don't ever want to sell a home again,
Yeah.
but you can make money referring to other agents. I have agents all over the country.
Yeah.
But also it's a branding move for me because it helps me speak to more agents. I speak to teams. And also just kind of building my brand in that space. I'm halfway through the 90 hours of training. I can't go anywhere in my state to take the test, which sucks.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get my license just to put in referral status. And I guess it all kind of came about after you work with enough people, as you know. I'm sure you have a niche too.
Yeah.
You start learning, like, Oh, Joe, who's 42 years old, who sells real estate. Same, I see a lot of Joes around that want to work
Yeah,
with me. And
right.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to work with the Joes.
Hmm.
And so that's where I focus on the real estate space. And I love it. I enjoy working with agents and helping them utilize this thing called a phone to
Yeah.
create daily video content to build awareness online.
Well, yeah, that's extremely important right now, right? And what do you see there with the people that you're working with? Is it's, I think of today, like a lot of people are doing video, but is there still a lot of resistance out there for people to put themselves out there like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of people are having obstacles with creating video content, specifically putting their face on camera because they're afraid, like a lot of people, they're afraid what people are going to think of them. They're
Yeah,
afraid their story doesn't matter, and who am I to go on and be
yeah,
in front of the camera? And they're afraid people are gonna think they're boasting or showing off. But honestly, it's for people, they need to get over that and the fact that, like, hey, I'm worried what people are gonna think of you. No matter what, people are gonna judge you. I have
right,
people that love me and I have people that hate me,
yeah,
and it's because I'm putting myself out there on social media. But that, I think that's proof that I'm doing something right when I'm getting hate. And
absolutely.
so stand for something, show who you are, what you do. And if you're looking at specifically in real estate or any field, people buy from who they like, trust, and know. They buy from people they can connect with, and they buy into stories. The best way to really show who you are as a person, what you do, and share your story is through creating videos, whether it's a Facebook Live, uploading videos, doing Facebook ads. And when you consistently put out this video content, people see you, they're more likely to reach out to you, and they're more likely to buy from you. And for me, I saw the results of my own business from landing big speaking gigs and coaching deals, advisory deals from people that literally DM me from watching my videos, leading to a call that closed a deal. And then me also working with people. So like real estate agents I work with, they'll create content. So I show them how to do it, overcome that fear, and then share their story, which results in people reaching out to them to say, hey, can you list my home? Or, hey, can I work with you in buying a home, which for them results in a deal.
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing. I think we all should really utilize the power of social media and video. I don't know what it's going to be in 5 years. And we got VR and all these things
Yeah,
coming. But
right.
right now, this thing called a phone and a camera on it, use that damn thing and show the world who you are, and it'll help you in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't feel like it's going away anytime soon, like you said. So yeah,
No.
take advantage of it. Quit fighting the technology,
Yeah.
embrace it. So, what's a like this is a question I love to ask. What's a critical moment, defining moment, kind of that fork in the road where obviously you did make the decision that you had because you are where you are today, but had you not, life could look very differently. I think there's a lot of people, entrepreneurs, business owners that listen into the show that could very well be in that moment right now. And it's just powerful to hear other people and how they navigated those times and came out the other side. Is there a moment that sticks out to you?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of defining moments, and as you probably know, like when you're going after a big goal and you're looking to do massive things, there's a lot of positive and there's a lot of like experience you'll get that aren't desirable from it. And I mean, I've faced bankruptcy before. I've seen the lows, I've seen the highs, and ultimately what I found out is when you're hitting like the lowest moment, whether it's a financial situation or a hardship in your business or relationships, usually what happens is if you keep pushing through that moment, sometimes your greatest successes happen beyond that. I'll give you one example. I'll give you two. So in 2014, I went to start this product development company in Des Moines, Iowa. I told my girlfriend, now my wife today, to leave our full-time job, and we're gonna go start this company. And we had some money lined up, investment. We had our office picked out. We put down deposit, got a apartment. We had a business plan. I spent thousands of dollars on a lawyer to put all this stuff together. We moved to the city. Last minute, I realized this deal was gonna be really long-term bad for me. We had to drop it, going from having all this money to go and pursue this endeavor, and my wife thinking she's getting a full-time job, to us wondering how the hell we're going to pay rent.
Wow.
And it kind of hit rock bottom. I felt like, man, I'm a fucking loser. Like how my wife or girlfriend at the time, like probably wants to leave me. Like I just led her down this gauntlet.
Yeah.
And that was tough for me.
Yeah.
But I look at that was a success in disguise, because what happened is because that endeavor didn't move forward, I had to turn to something else. And what I turned to is crowdfunding. And that's where I got my experience and led me to becoming a crowdfunding expert, which ultimately led me to producing shows.
Right.
So I think everybody should look back. I mean, you look at some of the hardest moments in our life, they ultimately led to a great success.
Yeah.
And one other experience I had that I share, because I want to show you a very low moment. As entrepreneurs, we all go through them if you're doing things at a high level. When I did the travel around the country, and my wife and I wrote about this in our book, when we traveled the country, we did our first city in January, and we went with no distribution deal. So usually what happens is when people go do a show, they have a network, they give them money to go produce it. So what I was doing is I was taking money out of my own pocket and also doing some fundraising along the way, and in terms of helping people help fund it. And so we did our first city. It cost way more than I thought it would. But then what I found out is that December, I actually had an event, if you guys remember, in LA during the fires. Well, my event went from being a huge revenue generator that year, because we were selling masterminds and coaching programs, to like a fifth of the people showing up, and ended up costing me a negative $50,000. And literally a month later, I went through a buyout of a business partner. When it rains, it pours.
Yeah.
I had all these things happen to me, and I got to the point come February that I was like, shit, what am I going to do? My banker was calling me, negative thousands in the bank account. I couldn't make any bills. I didn't have enough credit on my credit cards to even buy food. And my girlfriend at the time was like, wow, like, what are we going to do? We got to go home. I didn't want to quit. Like, I never wanted to quit. And I was like on my last just thread. I didn't know what to do anymore. It was so depressing. It was hard. But I kept pushing forward, and I'm like questioning myself. Oh, I'm sending emails. I'm doing this, doing the meetings. And, you know, I was at a peace because it was Valentine's Day, and I had like $100 left of credit. And I said, I'm going to take my girlfriend that I love to dinner. I don't got much left. I shouldn't spend on this, but I'm taking her to dinner.
Yeah.
We went to dinner, and we had a good night, and we forgot about all our problems. And literally it was a few days later, I'd closed one of my biggest deals in the history of my life.
Yeah.
Where I made more in that deal than I made in the previous like 18 months. And so like I was like, I hit the lottery. So I went from being so broke to having endless amount of money. And I guess the lesson there is sometimes our greatest successes are beyond our darkest times. We are being tested, whether it's a higher power, whatever you consider it, we're being tested in life. And if we just keep pushing forward and really have faith, I really believe you'll find your success.
Yeah.
So long story short, to answer your question, my defining moments have happened many times when I was at my lowest times, but I've learned after having enough of them, and I'm only 30, but being 3 years old, looking at my life in the last 10 years, all those moments in my life that were a setback ultimately led to me into a great opportunity.
Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. It's great. And it's just continuing to move forward. Like you said, you mentioned a little bit, I mean, that's the pure definition of faith. If you really are convicted in what it is that you're doing and the vision that you have for yourself, I think, you know, championship leaders have an incredible vision and the courage to execute on those when everybody thinks everyone else is looking at them like they're crazy. Right. And it's just the fortitude to be able to continue to push through and see the great things. That's the way great things do happen.
Mindset.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So that's powerful. Thank you so much. So as I want to respect your time. So we'll wrap this up with the one last question. What is, if there's one or two things that you could give the listeners today that if they implemented and put into action today would help them move forward? What would that be?
There's a few I'll throw off. One, read the book, Think and Grow Rich. It'll change your life. Two, first, figure out what you want in life. What is it you want to become known for? What do you want your legacy to be? And what are you going to enjoy doing? So figure that out, and then figure out how you can be the best at doing it. In our society today, for one, it's all about marketing. It's always been about marketing yourself and how you can really sell your services. So utilize social media, utilize video. And again, how I've started my career and how a lot of people can get their stuff out there is find 5 people, 10 people you want to be in business with or you want to work with, and find a way to make them money. Make them money, and they will reciprocate, and they will help you make money. I know that sounds really businessy, but that's literally the truth. If you can make influential people money, they will help you in return, and you might become really good friends with them, which you ultimately will. And then they will become your inner circle because you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so once you start spending your time with people that are very influential and very wealthy and or whatever it is you want to become,
Mm-hmm.
you'll become that yourself. So
Yeah.
I guess that's my best advice. And do what you love. Life is so freaking short, man. Like we don't know how long we have on this earth, and
Right.
you don't spend it doing what you love. What's the point?
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. And that's powerful. So thank you. What are a few ways that the listeners can follow you and find out more about what you got going on?
Yeah, for sure. Message me on social media. I'm on social media, all platforms at Brandon T. Adams. My favorite one is Instagram. Again, it's Brandon T. Adams, my name. You guys want to check out my website, you can go to brandonTadams.com.
Appreciate it. Hey, thanks so much for spending some time. And we're not that far away. So hopefully we get to connect here
Yeah,
in
for
person one of these
sure.
days. Really
Thanks, Nick.
appreciate it.